WWE has finally walked through that forbidden door. Well, I guess they were there, but then they closed it, locked it, threw away the key. But now they apparently found the key and they're walking back through that forbidden door, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about exactly how, as we talk about all of Friday Night SmackDown, January 7th edition, right here on Wrestling on Weed.
It's time for the Blunt Ratings. If this is your first time tuning in, this is how the Blunt Ratings work. We take each show and break them down into 5 categories: matches, promos and backstage segments, storytelling, commentary, and the crowd. For each category, each show can get up to 5 blunts. The average score of those 5 categories stands as the official Blunt Rating. Those are the rules. Now let's get right into tonight's edition of the Blunt Ratings.
We want the smoke. Talk to him. We want the smoke. We want the smoke. Come on, Charlie.
So, like the intro said, we're going to start off with matches. There were 4 matches on the show last night. They were okay, nothing really special. Bugs beat Sami Zayn in a match. I thought Sami Zayn should have won, but I guess his character just loses all the time. Charlotte Flair beat Naomi because of Sonya Deville's shenanigans once again in a championship contenders match. Still hate that. Madcap Moss and Baron Corbin, or Happy Corbin, excuse me, beat the Viking Raiders. There was something funny that happened during that match. We'll talk about that a little later. But yeah, that match was whatever. Madcap Moss did look amazing. They kept putting over how quick and strong he was. He did look pretty good. And then in the main event, we had another rematch for the SmackDown Tag Team titles between the Usos and the New Day. I probably didn't even need to say the team names if you didn't watch the show, because you probably know there's only like 2 or 3, 4, maybe 4 tag teams and on SmackDown, and there's only 2 that actually fight for the titles, and it's these 2 in what was built to be the New Day's final opportunity at the tag team championships. And it was another good match. They just beat each other with everything. The crowd begged for tables. So they pulled out the tables. And it was appropriate because the Usos ended up putting Kofi through the table with a 1D. And it doesn't stand for day one, which was corny, as I stated before. It stands for one and done, which I like a lot better. So they hit him with the 1D through the table, just like the Dudley Boys. Shout out to the Dudley Boys to get the 1, 2, 3 and retain their SmackDown Championship titles. So yeah, it's awesome, man. It's a good match. These 2 always have good matches. I don't think anybody surprised by that, but the other matches I didn't need. Charlotte and Naomi was whatever. I don't care about any of these other matches. Didn't really get the outcomes that I thought we should have had on. So what are the Viking Raiders? Anyways, I gave the matches 2.5 blunts for Friday Night SmackDown. Now, moving on to promos and backstage segments, which we had a lot of in this 2-hour broadcast. We had Roman, Brock, and Paul starting off the show. Roman came out and said he don't care who he fights. He just don't want to ever see Brock and Paul again. So you know that meant that Brock's music hit and they came out. So I mean, what else did you think was going to happen? So Brock came out and he did his whole introduction instead of letting Paul Heyman do it. Paul was like, "Oh yeah, that was great. You do it better than me." Paul's such an amazing kiss ass. At one point, Roman was talking shit to Brock and or talking shit to Heyman, and Heyman was like, "Man, why you talking to me like this, man? I love you, man. You were my tribal chief. I loved you, bro. I was just trying to help." And Lesnar like, "Yo, shut the fuck up. You sound like a little bitch right now. You back on my side. What's wrong with you?" And then Lesnar said something to Roman, or Roman was like, "Yo, don't talk to him like that." I was like, "Wait a minute." I was so confused. I was like, it's like a love triangle where there's a girl and then there's another girl, but it's like I don't know what's happening. This is weird. It's weird and I love it. I don't know what's happening, but it's weird and I love it. So they opened the show. Roman ended up Superman punching Brock Lesnar when he was distracted by Heyman being weird. And then Roman skated off. And yeah, so I don't know what's going to happen. Is Paul back with Roman? Is he still with Lesnar? Do they both hate him? Do they both still love him? I don't know what's happening. Paul is like the pretty girl that neither guy wants to let go of, and It's weird because it's Paul Heyman. But anyway, Sami Zayn, ran into what's his name, the jackass guy, Johnny Knoxville, backstage, who said that he was there to make sure that he got his chance at the Royal Rumble. Okay. Um, and he actually qualified for the Royal Rumble by throwing Sami Zayn over the top rope after Sami's match, which actually meant nothing. And then they announced that he was in the Royal. I was like, wait a minute. So that's all you got to do is just throw a random person over the top rope, like when they're not paying attention. That's how you get in the rope. Why doesn't everybody do that? Anyways, the New Day had a promo obviously before their match. Charlotte had the promo that everybody was talking about because when Charlotte came out to cut her promo before a match with Naomi, she basically announced all of the current women's Royal Rumble participants, and there was a lot of big names. Obviously, you got the Rhea Ripleys and Nikki Ashes, and a few of the current superstars, Zelina, Carmella, those ladies. But then you had people like Michelle McCool, Undertaker's wife. You got Lita, the legend Lita, one of the greatest of all time in the women's division, coming back for the Royal Rumble. But then I think the biggest name that they mentioned, and maybe not the biggest star of all the stars, I would say Lita was probably that, but the most important name that they could have mentioned was Impact Knockouts champion Mickey James, the same lady that they sent her stuff in a trash bag when wasn't that long ago. They had to apologize, and then she was mad, so she went and talked mad shit and went over to TNA and said we're gonna do things differently. Did their own women's event. Like I thought she was done with them. And she's been talking about there's other options. People, she's been saying these things, and now she's going back. I'm so confused. But maybe WWE is actually trying to work with Impact and maybe other companies like on a consistent basis because Impact's I think their president or whatever the guy is, he came out and said sent out a tweet saying WWE, congratulations WWE for finally walking through that forbidden door. So hey, Moose in WWE, that's the number one name out of everybody over there that I want to see back in WWE. I wonder if Rich Swan might end up back over there at some point doing some stuff. Who knows? I'm just happy that it happened. But that was one of the promos for the night. Also, before Charlotte's match, Naomi smacked the taste out of her mouth before she challenged her to the fight. We had an Usos promo, obviously. Happy Talk. We had an episode of Happy Talk, which was terrible. And Sheamus declared for the Royal Rumble also. And we had Adam Pearce annoying the hell out of Roman Reigns and telling him that he knew who he was going to be fighting at the Royal Rumble. And Roman was like, I don't give a shit, man. Who it is it? I beat them all, man. It don't matter. But later, we found out exactly who that was. So, for promos and backstage segments, it was an okay night. I mean, everybody was hype about the Mickey James announcement, mainly because of the Forbidden Door being open. I mean, Mickey James is Mickey James. So I gave promos and backstage segments, I gave 3.5 blunts. Now, for storytelling, I would give storytelling another 3.5 blunts. And like I said, it's mainly because of the Brock Heyman Roman thing. Like, what side is Heyman really on? Who is he really with? Who are those guys? Like, is Roman really setting them up? I know I mentioned that before. Like, I felt like it was a setup from the beginning. So I don't know how this is gonna play out. I love the storytelling there. Obviously, the Women's Royal Rumble and the stories that could be told. Charlotte says she's gonna be in the Rumble and she's gonna pick her opponent for WrestleMania, which would be cool. We saw Brock try to do that. He got halfway through the Rumble before he got eliminated by Drew McIntyre that one year, a couple years ago. So that was cool to watch. So I'm looking forward to see Charlotte doing similar things. I doubt she'll go number one. But more likely she'll go number 30. But looking forward to seeing what she does in the Rumble. So some decent storytelling on the show. Those two stories were obviously pretty good. The rest of it, so I gave him 3.5 blunts. That's actually I think a pretty liberal score right there. So being nice, I guess. Commentary was on point all night. Pat McAfee, Michael Cole are hilarious together. At one point, when Bugs and Shinsuke, Pat McAfee loses his mind. So he was standing on the table and humping Michael Cole's head again. And Michael Cole, he was like, I'm shredding. Be quiet. I'm shredding. Michael was like, you're shredding me. I thought that was hilarious. And the probably the most hilarious line, and probably the most accurate. It actually probably wasn't accurate, but it sounded like it could have been accurate. When the happy talk segment was going off, Pat McAfee, as they were going to commercial, he was like, "We just lost 2 million viewers during that segment." I was like, "Pat, you're not supposed to bury your own show. That's not how it's supposed to but he did, and it was hilarious. He's hilarious. He's a gem to pro wrestling, the commentary desk. So it is what it is. He's not Tony Schiavone, but he's pretty damn good. So I gave the commentary team 4 blunts for Friday Night SmackDown. They did a great job, and the crowd, 3 blunts. The crowd gets 3 blunts. The crowd wasn't really all that last night. It was one of those dumb crowds who started the show off doing the what chant when Roman Reigns was talking. Fortunately, Roman Reigns is a pro and a veteran, and he just talked right through that shit and didn't pause to where y'all could keep doing that dumb shit. But y'all tried it, and it's annoying. And please, for the love of God, burn that chant and bury it, and don't ever say it again. I'm so sick of the what chant. It's like, okay, for a heel it works, but you don't do that to. I mean, Roman's a heel. Just certain wrestlers it works. Like the Miz, you could what? I don't even like when y'all do it to the Miz. Honestly, I just hate the chant. It's whack. You know what I mean? Pat McAfee does it on his podcast and it's funny. But yeah, while a wrestler's actually trying to cut a promo, unless he's doing the pauses intentionally for you to do the what, then shut the fuck up because it's annoying. Just stop trying to be a part of the show by throwing people off. I just don't like that. But anyways, I gave the crowd 3 blunts because they were half-assing it all night. They were dead silent. It was funny. Dead silent when the Viking Raiders tried to start a raid chant. They were like, raid, raid. Nobody in the crowd moved. Nobody, I don't know. It was like everybody was looking at their phone. Like, you want us to? No. I was like, damn, they're not over at all. So they, so 3 blunts for the crowd, like I said. So that's 16.5 blunts in total for Friday Night SmackDown, averaging out to a 3.3 blunt rating for the show. A silver badge, pretty good show. I think thanks to Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman and Brock Lesnar being a large part of that show. The New Day and the Usos obviously putting on a good main event that we've saw about a billion times and don't ever need to see again. Maybe in 5 years when they're about to retire, but I'm good up until then. So yeah, 3.3 for the show. Good Friday Night SmackDown. I am all the way reinvested into the Roman Reigns thing. I always have been, but even more so now with this whole drama with Lesnar and Heyman. So until the next one, guys, I'll see you. It's your boy, Mr. HD. Peace.